You just hit on a moment ago about how you'd been involved in one clinical trial and had applied for a couple others. Can you just explain sort of the process that you went through and how that went for you?
Sure. So I think the first clinical trial I applied was with you. So um, it was through a research facility, and I had reached out to the clinical trial coordinator to determine if I would be eligible. And that clinical trial coordinator explained the requirements for me. And this particular trial required information from my family as well. So I had to get my family involved and ask them if they would be willing to participate and go get screened to see if they would qualify to help me with this clinical trial. So, I went in and met with the clinical trial coordinator. I filled out a bunch of paperwork about the informed consent and everything that the clinical trial has disclosures about. So potential side effects, all sorts of information that the patient should know when entering a clinical trial. And then I signed all that paperwork, and then myself and my brothers got screened. And unfortunately, none of us qualified to participate in the trial because we didn't meet the qualifications based off of our testing. So that was my first experience with the clinical trial. From the time that I initially contacted the clinical trial coordinator to the time that I knew I wasn't going to be a candidate was probably about a month and a half. So
Mhm.
it's not a quick process. It can take quite a bit of time actually. So that's why, for me personally, I don't want to be at a point where I need an immediate solution for a next line of treatment. I want to be prepared, and so that's why I've taken the position that I am seeking out clinical trials on a prospective basis versus a reactive basis. So I think that's really important. So the next trial that I applied for, it was something that I knew about, and I had experience from other patients that had been on that trial. So I knew it was a good fit for my mutation. I knew somewhat of the side effects. But again, I spoke with my oncologist saying, okay, once this line of treatment is finished for me, I would like to look at this clinical trial. So again, we had to go through all the paperwork, and I had to sign a bunch of information with allowing myself to be treated with this medication, getting information about what I would need to be wary of as far as side effects, also what type of monitoring would be done, how often the infusions would be, and just a variety of important information to know as you're engaging in these clinical trials. So with that, I qualified for the clinical trial, and I would say with regards to that enrollment, it was a fairly quick enrollment because again, I knew that I would qualify based off of my mutation. I had already talked to my oncologist about it. It was just a matter of sending tissue samples to the clinical trial drug company and getting their approval to have me enrolled. So at that point, once they approved my enrollment, it was pretty quickly that we got myself into the trial and starting the medication. So